Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. Episode 33 ahead of UFC 260. We got a good lineup for you here. We're going to be first joined by UFC welterweight Vicente Luque, who looks to be fighting in the co-main event now that Volkanovski Ortega's off, but he's fighting former champion Tyron Woodley. This is a big spot for Vicente Luque if he wants to become a top 5 and future title challenger at 170 pounds. This is it was an interesting chat. Obviously, he's not going back to Sanford. He's in Brazil. He's awaiting his first child, so he's doing all his training in Brazil. But he's still going to have Henry Hoof, Gilbert Burns in his corner. We also talked about Gilbert Burns in that Khama Worthy fight, just because he's really close to both of them, and how weird that was for him to be in Burns' corner. We're then joined by Khama Worthy to preview his main card fight against Jamie Mullarkey. This is a really good fight. Khama Worthy's coming off that loss over Otman Azatar. Didn't really want to say a whole lot about Otman, and obviously with all that stuff that happened on Fight Island, but this is kind of do or die for Jamie Mullarkey. 0-2 in the UFC, a very fun fight with Brad Riddell, one fight of the UFC 243, then a close decision loss to Faris Ayam. But Khama Worthy, obviously the knockout loss to Otman Azatar before that, submitted Luis Pena an upset win, knocked out Devontae Smith in one of the biggest upsets in 2019. So Khama Worthy's looking to get back on track here. We're then going to be joined by Gillian Robertson to preview her fight against Miranda Maverick. Obviously, this is supposed to happen to UFC 258. Pushed back about a month just to Robertson had to pull out due to sickness, not COVID. She made that pretty clear, but had to pull out due to sickness on the fight day. She was very disappointed with that. So we got into that, and how she was really relieved Miranda was open just to rebook this fight a month later, and kind of on a bigger card, UFC 260 heavyweight title fight rematch. Like, it doesn't get much bigger than that, but good chat, Jillian, as always. And then we close things out with Modestas Bukauskas to preview his fight against Michel Oleg-Zaychuk. This is a big fight for Modestas Bukauskas. One is UFC debut, kind of controversial with the whole Andreas Michailidis went through when the round ended. He kind of fell over when they opened up the door and the ref stopped it, and then he obviously lost Jimmy Crute, which is a big step up. But he learned a lot from Jimmy Crute. He actually had a beer with him after the fight, and Jimmy kind of broke down what they kind of saw in holes in his game. So he was really fixing that, and he thinks this is a spotlight where he can get another stoppage win and start to climb up the light heavyweight ranks. But this is a really good episode. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you all for listening. Be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by UFC welterweight Vicente Luque, who's got a massive fight coming up at UFC 260. Vicente, how's it going?
All going good, man.
Yeah. Obviously, you got that big step up in competition 2 fights ago against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Didn't go your way. You then get 2 straight stoppage wins over Nico Price and Randy Brown. Did you ever think Tyron Woodley would be your next opponent?
Kind of. I felt like it could be one of the opponents. I was looking for somebody in the top 10, and a lot of guys had fights already. So we had Chiesa was going up against Neil Magny. We had other guys that were supposed to fight already. I was thinking about maybe Damian Maia. Woodley would be a good option. I offered myself to get that fight against Leon Edwards once the fight fell through in December, but it didn't happen. So, there weren't many options, and I wanted somebody in the top 10. So it made sense for me to fight against a guy like Woodley, and I think it's an awesome fight. He's a guy that has been the champion. He was a great champion when he was holding that title, so I definitely think it's a tough fight, but it's a great fight to put me in a good position in the division.
What do you make of this recent run Woodley's on? Like, he's lost 3 straight fights and he's lost every single round of them. And it's just like his corner keeps on telling him, like, you got to pull the trigger. Like, that's a big thing, is he hasn't been able to find that. Like, what do you make of this current Tyron Woodley?
Man, what I take from my fight is I just think, that makes him more dangerous. It makes him more of somebody that wants to go out there and prove that he is the same guy that was a champion. He is that old Woodley that we used to see, that has that big right hand, but also is aggressive, is confident, goes and imposes his will on his opponents. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm definitely going to be ready for the best Woodley ever. I mean, I can never underestimate a guy like that, a guy that has been such a dominant champion. And it doesn't really, if that doesn't happen, if it's not the best Woodley in there, that's not for me to care about. I just have to go out there, do my job, get this big win. I want to get to the title, and this is one more step. So, and it's a big step for me. So definitely I'm going to go in there and be ready for the best Woodley ever.
And if I'm not mistaken, you cornered Gilbert Burns against Woodley, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was there watching, from the best spot watching that fight.
So how important is that? Where you are Gilbert Burns' main training partner, so you already kind of trained for Woodley before and helped him beat Woodley, and obviously his game plan worked to perfection, winning all 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think that's a good, definitely gives me some advantage in the sense of preparing for that, having, strategic decisions for that fight, because I already had watched tape on him back when he was fighting Gilbert Burns. I'm watching tape on him again. So I think it's just like I know him a little bit more than if it were a fighter that I just got the first time. I'm gonna watch his fights, and I don't know about. And even I mean, just for him being a champion, I used to watch every single fight when he was gonna fight and defend his title. So it's I think it's just that kind of opponent that I've been watching him all my life. So it gets me a little bit more comfortable in the sense of strategy wise. What's the plan? What kind of tools I can use against him? I think that definitely helps me. But at the same time, I'm sure that he's gonna look for some new things to bring on the fight and have some improvements. So I'm gonna be ready for what usually Woodley does. But I'm never gonna, just think he's gonna do that. I know that he's gonna bring something new, and I'll be ready for that as well.
Even though Woodley is on the losing streak, like he is still extremely durable. Like went 5 rounds with Usman. Gilbert Burns went 5 rounds, and we know how hard Gilbert Burns hit. He did get finished commentated, but that was more of a rib injury. So, like, are you kind of preparing for this fight to go 3 rounds?
Yeah, for sure. I think also I prepare for a much more aggressive Woodley, because I think when he goes for 5 rounds, I think everybody kind of you hold a little bit back on those first 2 rounds, because you got to go strong in the last three. And in a 3 round fight, I think he's just going to open up really strong, and that's what I'm going to be ready for. It's kind of my style, also. I'm never kind of studying too much. I go right in there and get my do what I got to do, get to action quickly, and I think he's definitely ready to fight 3 rounds, because he's usually fighting 5 rounds. So I think that's a point he has going for him. But at the same time, I'm really comfortable going 3 rounds as well. I do believe that I'm ready to fight 5 rounds. So I think it's gonna be just like a high-paced fight, as most of my fights are. And if he can take the pressure, it will definitely go to the end. But I'm gonna be looking to finish him every time.
And with Woodley too, like you kind of mentioned there, like do you think this is gonna be kind of a very dangerous Woodley, just with his back against the wall? If you lose 4 straight in the UFC, like your job might be gone. Like it might be do or die for him. Like so, I wouldn't be surprised, especially in the 3 round fight, like you mentioned, that he just goes and throws everything at it and comes out really aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like this says that he is definitely approaching the end of his career, and he wants to do it in the best way possible. So if I'm looking at a guy that used to be a champion that hasn't had, the great performances right now, and is fighting a guy like me that is up and coming, is hungry to win fights, especially to win against a guy like Woodley that is a former champion. I think he's going to look at it as an opportunity to prove himself, to show that he is Tyron Woodley, and he has that hard right hand, and he's gonna still knock people out. That's what I imagine he's gonna do. That's what I figure. This guy's gonna come at me and really want to prove a point. And it's the kind of fight I want. I want somebody that wants to compete against me at the highest level. And a former champion for me at this moment is the highest level I'm gonna face. So that's a good test for me, and it excites me. Just knowing that I'm going to fight a guy at that level, and I expect him to come, really prepared for this fight and do his best.
How do you see this fight playing out? Just because Woodley is very durable, but most of your fights, oftentimes are not, like you find that knockout punch.
I mean, I think it's just something that is from my style. Whenever I'm fighting, I cannot let opportunities slip away from me. If I see a punch, and I will take it. If I see that I hurt him, I will try to finish him. And if it doesn't happen, I'm good with that also. I can just compose myself again and look for another opportunity and keep doing that 3 rounds nonstop. So I see a really high-paced fight. I see myself putting a lot of pressure in him. And if he wants to put that pressure right back, I think it's going to be a banger of a fight. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that is going to back down. I get hit and I keep, you know, trying to knock my opponents out, and that's what I do. I enjoy that. So I think it's that kind of fight. Either I go in there, pressure him, and he cannot handle that pressure, or he does handle the pressure. He wants to bring it right back to me, and it's going to be, you know, a great night for the fans.
What do you think a win over Woodley does for you? Like a former champion, ranked 7th, like you get into that top 10, and although he's on the losing streak, like it's still a former champion on your record.
Yeah, I think it's that kind of opponent. I need to prove that I can beat guys that were top 5, top 3, and champions. You know, I think Wonder Boy was that kind of opponent. I couldn't get the win against him. It was a good fight, but I didn't get the win against him. So I think I showed, yeah, maybe I can hang with these guys because it was a tough fight against Wonder Boy, but I still couldn't beat him. So now I think it's where I got to show that I can beat these guys up there. I can be a top 5, then a top 3, and eventually fight for the title. I see it as, you know, I need to make a statement in this fight. I need to show people what kind of MMA I'm fighting, what kind of fighter I am, and I can go in there and hang with the big dogs.
To me, I think this is a perfect fight too, where you could really start calling your shots if you beat Woodley, especially being on this card. Like this is a massive pay-per-view card. You're going to be on the main card. You beat a former champion. Like I think you could start calling out those top 5 guys.
Definitely. I mean, for a while, I've been trying to get good fights, and I wasn't in the position for that. And I think beating a guy like Woodley will put me in the position where I can get the fights I want, where I can get the big fights against, you know, big names, guys that are going to put me right there for the title fight. So I definitely think a good win over Woodley will give me that possibility to choose who my next opponent will be. And it puts me in a position where they really cannot say no because I'm not like an irrelevant guy anymore. I'm going to be a relevant guy. So I think that definitely makes that for me if I get a big win against Woodley.
Something I want to ask you about is I asked a lot of the top welterweights about it. Is what do you make of this push the UFC is doing on Chimaev? Because like to some guys they get it, he's a big name. To others, it's kind of like, especially you, like look at yourself. You had to get so many wins in a row to even get a shot at someone in that top 10. Like, well, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, I mean, definitely there is some kind of overhype building in that, but we never know. He might deliver. He has definitely delivered on his fights. It weren't the highest caliber opponents, but still, they were tough fights. There were fights where he showed total dominance. So I get it that the UFC does that. You know, I do get that. I know that myself being more of a quiet guy and trying to talk inside the octagon will make my path kind of harder, but I signed up for that since day one. I never kind of got really worried about that. I have no problem fighting more than everybody and having to prove myself even more because I know that when I get up there, I'm going to be tested and I'm going to be, you know, ready to fight those big guys and the big names. So, you know, the UFC has many different approaches with different fighters. I just think Chimaev is one of those guys that he has been looking really good. He sells really good, apparently, for the UFC. So it makes sense for them to push him. And if he can get those wins, I mean, it's good for him too. You know, if he can get wins and get to the title, you know, props to him. But I think it's dangerous if that doesn't work out. And then you got to start over again. Sometimes that doesn't happen that well. We've seen that in other fights like Sage. Sage was a guy that maybe if he had started, you know, with lower level guys, more beginner guys, he could build himself to be a great fighter. But he was thrown in there against tough guys and didn't have much time to grow. He was still young. So it's tricky. And another, you know, if Sage had worked out and win all the fights, he would fight for a title and be a champion. That would be good too, but it didn't happen. So it's a tricky thing. And I think all kinds of paths, you know, are fair. I don't think, man, I don't know. I can't compare myself to other people because I know everybody works so hard to be here. I cannot say that I work harder than someone else. I don't live with Chimaev. I don't know what he has gone through life. So good for him that he's getting this push. And I'm taking care of my business. I will do what I have to do to get to the title.
I know you're in Brazil, so when are you heading out to Florida, or is this whole camp just taking place in Brazil?
This whole camp will be here in Brazil. I like to go back and forth, and it's not only when I have a fight. It's some kind of feeling. I talk to my coaches. I talk to Henry. I talk to Daniel here in Brazil. I talk to myself inside my mind, and sometimes I feel like I must go to Florida. Sometimes I feel like I must stay here. And for this fight, I really feel confident on having my camp over here in Cerrado MMA in Brasilia. Everybody is always helping me out. I got great training partners. I got great facilities to train. So I just feel like it makes more sense. And also, I'm a really family guy. So I have my family here. My wife is pregnant. I have a boy on the way. So I just want to be enjoying this also with her. And I can get great work over here and get ready for this fight. So in my mind, the perfect camp for this fight is over here in Brazil.
Just last thing I have to ask you about it is obviously close friend teammate Gilbert Burns fought for the belt. Didn't go his way, but still a heck of a performance, like dropping Usman in the first round. Like, what did you take away from his performance?
I took a lot of things about that fight. One thing is, and me and Gilbert talked about it. He wasn't disciplined, and we knew that was a big thing. We've trained with Kamaru for so many times, and we know that he is maybe the most disciplined fighter in there. He has a game plan. He's gonna go in there, do what he has to do. He got hit, by Gilbert, and not many people can take a hit like that. And still, he stayed composed and did the things he needed to recover and then get the win. So we feel like that's what Gilbert didn't do. So he got a little bit overexcited after he dropped Kamaru and just started overcommitting the shots. We talked about that, and I think it's a learning process. It's definitely not the end of him. He's just starting. It was a great fight. He showed that he can really put the champion danger in there, and I don't think many other guys did that. Colby went 5 hard rounds with him, but still got finished at the end. And nobody really dropped ever Kamaru and put him in such a position. So I think that he showed that with a little bit more work, learning a lot from this fight and getting better, he's going to get back up there, and I think he's going to be the champion. I do believe that, and it wasn't the night. It wasn't the night for him to win, and it is what it is. We hate it at the moment, but we learn from it, and then we get better. There's nothing else to do.
Was that fight hard for you personally? Because I know you trained with Kamaru a lot. I know Gilbert's obviously one of your close friends, but was that just a tough fight being a part of?
It was different, man. For sure, it was different. It's not comparable. Like the relationship I have with Gilbert is we're brothers. That's why I was with him there. Something that I like to see is Kamaru's brother. He's always there for every fight of Kamaru, and he knows me. He knows Gilbert. He loves us. We have great relationship. But he was still going to corner Khama for that fight. He would never not be by the side of his brother. And that's the way I feel with Gilbert. I'm a lonely child. So I'm an only child. I don't have brothers. So for me, Gilbert is like my brother, brother from fighting. We, have great relationships with our families. And it was just that feeling like I could not be there for him. I just felt that I had to help him from this fight. But it was tough in the sense that I do have a friendship with Kamaru, and he's a great guy. At the end of the night, I didn't want any of them to lose. I wanted both to be champion, but that cannot happen. So it was tough, and just to watch the two of them going it, I know that both of them, deep inside, still had some feeling about that. You could see at the end of the fight, it was a different energy. You could see that, both Kamaru and him were kind of like shaken by everything that went on. But at the end of the day, it's business. They did what they had to do, and they did it at the highest level. And it was a great fight. They put all that aside and still delivered.
Just last question, kind of a two-parter, but you're the UFC matchmaker. Who do you give Gilbert Burns next? And you're slowly coming up the welterweight rankings. Like, are you and Gilbert? Is that something you would never fight him?
No, man, that's not possible. We can't fight. I mean, it's like fighting your brother. How am I going to fight my brother? We could do it at training, and we love that. But for real, I don't think we could do that. It's just, we'll figure out something. If we both are in the position where we're going for the title, I have the title or he has the title, we'll figure something out and we'll make it work, But I don't think that's a fight that's going to happen. Next fight for Gilbert, I think that Chiesa would be a great fight. I think it makes sense. Chiesa's coming up. He has been showing, good level on his last fights, and it's a great fight for Gilbert. It's a high name. It's a big name right now in the division. Both are grapplers. I think that Gilbert is the better grappler, so we can see it on that fight. Definitely, I believe there will be some grappling in that fight. So I think that's a fight that makes sense for both of them. Gilbert is a guy up there, so that's what Chiesa probably wants, a big name like that. And he's coming up, so he has a lot to give for Gilbert as well as somebody that will promote Gilbert. A win over him will definitely put Gilbert right back there in the mix for the title. And yeah, I think that's a good one.
All right, well, Vicente, man, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Khama Worthy, who's back at UFC 260. Khama, how's it going?
Going good, brother. Going good.
Obviously, coming back. Last fight didn't go right. I just want to touch on that quickly. Kind of a lot of people thought that was an early stoppage, Dom and Azatar. Like, that was a fight kind of you wanted. What do you take away from that fight now?
No, I don't think it was an early stoppage. The referee did his job. Their job isn't to let us get knocked out to make sure we don't get hurt. It was just off night for me, on night for him, and I don't really want to get into it too much with him because at the time that I lost the fight, I took it as a loss, and now the situation with him coming up with all this other stuff, I'm pretty sure he's fucking cheating. So I'm like not getting into that. I'll wait. I got a different task at hand, but you know what they say, kid. Just say no to potatoes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And was this about the right time frame for you to return then, end of March?
I wanted to come back earlier. I didn't get concussed in my last fight, so I actually wanted to come back earlier, but this is just the sooner one. And my manager, like the time I got offered a fight and stuff, so I just took what I can get. I know there's a lot of people at lightweight, so it's a really hard division, so you just kind of take what you get.
Jamie Malarkey, to be honest, I'm surprised this is who you're fighting. Just because he's 0-2 in the UFC, I thought you would have got someone coming. No, I know you're coming off a loss, but I thought they would have given you someone kind of higher up.
Yeah, he's tough. He's fought two tough guys in the UFC. I had my first three fights. I had a combined record of I think like 34 and 34 and 5 or something. My guys had like a 90% finish rate or something crazy. So it's not. You're in the UFC. You're gonna get tough fights. He just didn't win his first two fights, but that doesn't. I'm not looking past him at all. In fact, the way I'm looking at it is I'm like, this is the most dangerous Malarkey ever because I'm pretty sure if he loses this fight, he's gonna get cut. Well, when he loses this fight, he's gonna get cut. So he's gonna be coming out ready to go. So I'm like, yeah, I'm anticipating that he's gonna come out super dangerous. I think it's a good matchup. It's a fun fight. I'm not about chasing freaking ranked guys and shit because I said this before. I'm not getting paid rank money. I'll fight where I need to fight and stuff until you get the proper. I did just get a new contract. I do have a new contract, so I'm getting more money than before, so it's much better. So I'll just slowly get my way to where I need to be.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to touch on because I remember every single time we talk, you always mention that because everyone kind of always brings up to you, especially after the Luis Pena win was, when are you going to get a ranked guy? And you were kind of quick to shut him down that you need to get paid. So is that just something you've learned over the times, MMA? Like the business side has to equal what it is for what you have to do inside?
Yeah, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's not like, hey, if I beat a top 15 guy, my next guy is going to be in the top 5. That's not how it works. That's just not how. Look at the guys that are getting title shots off of losses, and guys are on 8 white win streaks and can't get a fight against a top guy in the top 10 because it's not about beating it's about beating the right guy at the right time, the right opportunity. Everything has to line up perfectly. So I'm not going to be fighting this guy who's a freaking who's making 5 times or 4 times what I'm making. Meanwhile, we're both taking on the same amount of damage. I'm like, I might as well get. This is my 4th fight in the UFC, so I'm not trying to bite off more and not get paid enough for it. It's different. If you're going to pay me enough, then I'll fight fucking Francis Ngannou. But if I'm not getting paid according to the people, I'm not just going to be fighting top level guys and not getting paid for it.
And with Malarkey, like that fight against Brad Riddell, that was the fight of the night. He's had two really entertaining fights, but something he kind of goes to when needs it is he goes to his grappling. Like, do you expect him to try to shoot on you at some point once you start hitting him?
Yeah, when I start picking him the fuck apart, he's gonna shoot on me in the first 2 minutes of the first round because I'm gonna be lighting his ass up. The minute he starts getting lit up, he's gonna shoot, and I'm probably gonna knee him in his fucking face. That's basically like the. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like he's like as soon as he starts getting uncomfortable in the striking range, he shoots, and not like good. He just shoots because he's like, I have to get a hold of you. He doesn't like that's just the way he's a tough fighter. If he can get you in the striking, he gets you in the striking. If he can't, then he shoots on
you. Do you still think people overlook your grappling and ground game still? Like, do you think a lot of people still kind of just view, Khama Worthy's only a striker, just take him down and we'll kind of win this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been. I mean, like people like. I can't remember like the last time I lost by. I mean, I've only lost by submission once in my entire career. Like my losses come from me exchanging. Like I get TKO or knocked out like they trade exchanges. Not like someone grapples me on the ground. I never get really outworked. If someone starts outworking me on the ground, I usually figure out a way and I usually knock them out or choke them out. So I don't get like people. Yeah, I'm just gonna take them down. I'm like, yeah, because I'm just over here in Pennsylvania, not wrestling. Like, but hey, man, like I said. Like that's a thing that they think will happen, and I expect it because that's just people just aren't going to get comfortable. If they get comfortable, then we're going to exchange. I mean, Pena said he was going to sit in the middle and exchange. I'm like, yeah, fucking right. As soon as you start getting hit, you're going to fucking shoot. Like, and Malarkey, I already know that's what he's going. I mean, I know that's what he's going to do. So.
How do you see his fight playing out? Because to me, like I know Malarkey took a lot of damage from Riddell in his last fight, but I actually think you probably hit harder than those two do, and I wouldn't be surprised if you put him away.
I don't think I hit harder than Riddell does.
You hit the right spot.
I hit differently. Yeah, I hit differently. And if he sits in front of me like he did with Riddell, yeah, I have a couple different things that we're looking that we could finish with and stuff. But I mean, he's tough. I'm also not putting it past him that he just sits there and just gets picked apart. He's the type of guy he's tough as fuck. So I might just have to pick him apart for 3 rounds and we'll just see how it goes.
I was looking, I'm not sure how much you pay attention to, but you're finally the betting favorite. 4 fights in and you finally become the betting favorite.
Someone told me that yesterday. I was wrestling. They were telling me that. I was like, oh, I don't pay attention. I don't really get into the betting odds thing. Like I don't get people be all into that. I'm like, that's not like real. Like that's not like a guarantee. That's just with some guy who counts numbers and stuff. It's not fighters don't make those. Some guy who probably never fought a day in his life is sitting there calculating shit and trying to figure it out. I'm like, this isn't baseball. Fighting's too hard to do the odd stuff.
What do you think a win over Jamie does? Like you've kind of been open that it's just going to be someone around you, but are you hoping maybe a new I know you just signed a new contract, but are you hoping a good performance here might get you some more money and a more well-known name?
No, I don't really give a shit about names or anything. Like I'm actually like I'm looking like I mean I would like to fight a guy that's been in the UFC for a while, you know what I mean? But I'm probably waiting to get like 4 or 5 fights or 6 or 7 fights deep in the UFC before I start like actually looking like okay, I want to fight this person for names. Like I'm cool fighting new guys. I only have 4 fights, so it's like I don't need to be like, oh, this guy's got 27 fights. Fight this guy. I'm like, nah. I'll fight the fights according to me and set it up. I mean, like, there's just too many guys at the lightweight division. Like, there's just like I can name 30 guys off the top of my head that would be good fights, and no one even knows who the fuck they are. You know what I mean? Like it's so difficult to like really. And then like they're bringing all these guys from the Contender Series and like the guy that just fought this last Saturday. And I mean, there's just so many fucking people. I mean, there's just so many fucking people. So. There's so many amounts of names. There's so many fights. So, I mean, I would like to fight 5 times this year. That's my plan. I want to fight 5 times this year. So, hopefully, everything stays nice and healthy and allows me to do that. But we'll see.
Well, you kind of answered that question, but I was just gonna say, like, how frustrating was last year? You only got 2 fights in because I know you're a guy that likes to be as active as possible.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I don't like sitting around. I'm older. I'm 30. I turned 35 in October. Like, I'm gonna fight until I'm maybe like 39, maybe. I don't want to be fucking fighting doing this shit when I'm fucking like. So I have about 3 to 4 years to rack up a lot of fights. I want to fight a lot. I want to get at least 15 or 20 UFC fights in my career, so I'd like to like keep going. But again, I'm in the wrong division of overly packed fights. I mean, but I might even start looking like some short notice fights at 170, depending on who the opponent is and how big they are. 'Cause some 170 pounders are fucking huge. Like some guys like 6'8" or some shit. Like, yeah, that's a little bit much, but we'll see.
And fighting on this pretty good card, UFC 260, 2 title fights, like, does that mean anything to you, or is it just another day at the
Oh,
office?
they're fighting on my card. Like someone's like, "Oh, you're on the Stipe card again." I said, "No, Stipe's on my card." Like no. I mean it's cool. You know, it means a lot of eyes and stuff. There's a lot of people on that card, like a lot of champions, former champions. Like there's a lot of guys with like, a lot of hype behind them. There's a lot of people on the card, so it'll be good to see. I got to go out there and make sure I steal the show, like I always try to do.
You fought at the Apex once. Do you think the smaller or the Pena fight was at the Apex too?
Yeah, the Pena. I fought at Apex twice. The Pena fight and let's fight with Apex.
Yeah, the smaller octagon. Like, does that really even play a factor for you, or you don't really care?
Yeah, I'm used like in like all the fights in my career cage was like 22 or 25 feet or 20 feet. So I fought in like super freaking small cages. So the Apex cage looks huge to me. The other UFC cage is a damn football field. Like so, like they're both equally sized cages. I'm not like even when I fought Pena, it wasn't like we touched the cage like right at the end of the fight was the only time we ever touched the cage. You know what I mean? So it's not. I don't think the cage is super small.
This fight, like, do you think this? I kind of think this is a good fight for you to get a bonus. Either it's going to be like one of the good fights on the card, or you're going to get that performance bonus.
Yeah, I mean, like me and Malarkey's definitely that type of guy. He's definitely willing to fight. I'll see again. I'll see, or we'll have to see how he shows up and if he's willing to. Because like everyone's, like I'm not. I fight a little bit different than the guys that you fight. I'm not willing to let him hit me. I'm going to be more so making him miss and making him pay. So he's gonna probably try to grapple more, and then we'll probably get into installments and the grappling, and then I'll be getting back up, and then I'll be hitting him again. So we'll see how exciting he can make it. I'm going to definitely try to make it exciting. I mean, like, why not? Like, I don't just go for wins. I fight for bonuses. So we'll see. I mean, he has one already, so I'm pretty sure. His last fight, he slowed it down on purpose, though. He made it slow on purpose, his last fight.
Everything goes your way March 27th. Like, when's that ideal time frame? Because you keep saying 4 or 5 fights this year.
I would like to fight, like, truthfully, like April. If I could fight March 27th, I would like to fight again, like late April, like within a month later. And then like take 3 months off and then fight like 3 fights, like October, August, like August, October, and like December for the end of the year. So, but again, like I don't want to overplan because last year I had this whole big plan set up and shit didn't go as planned. So I'm not trying to overplan and like jinx myself too much, but I am like kind of letting out a way of things I want to do and stuff.
Could you take another 55 short notice fight? Like you obviously took the Devontae Smith one on short notice. Like you had to cut a bunch of weight in that short period of time. Like, is that an option, or if it's short notice, like would you prefer to be at 170?
It depends. I mean, I can take a short notice fight like 3 weeks. Like I don't really get big. Like I don't really get to be gigantic. I own a fight gym, so I'm always training. Yeah. I always have fighters or training or something like that. Like I don't really take time off. But I wouldn't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna cut 19 pounds and shit. And like the Devontae fight was to get in the UFC. Yeah. The other fights, like they were all shorter notice, like 3 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. I'm like, that's cool. That's not bad. So we'll just have to like I don't really think I want to be taking like 5-day fights. But it depends on the fight, depends on what the money is. Like I'll cut 20 pounds if you're offering me like 100 and 100, 75 and 75, I'll fucking cut 20 pounds. That's no problem.
Just last thing, I know you said you don't really want to plan that whole much, but what's this kind of ideal year for you from a fighting perspective?
Yeah, I mean, like I would like to get, like I said, get 4 or 5 wins in, make over $250,000 and then move on to 2022. That's the plan. Like I'm buying a house for the family and stuff. In June, so like I said, I'd like to get 2 fights before then, and then like just get things going. I'm a real basic dude. I'm gonna keep, like I said, just keep fighting, just keep making as much as possible and take it from there.
Well, Khama, thank you so much for the time again, man. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we're joined by UFC flyweight Gillian Robertson. Gillian, how's it going?
Doing good. Just head back from the beach with the dogs. We're 2 weeks out now, so I'm hyped.
Yeah, what's kind of Sundays like for you then? Is it just heading to the beach with the dogs then?
Oh yeah, it's like any other day for me, I guess. I'm still gonna go train tonight. Even like today's my rest day, we still get at least one in. But it's exciting having a fight coming up. So this is just the time to get into the right mindset, relax, and ready to go.
I guess that's a big plus of moving away from Canada to Florida then, is you get to go to the beach in March.
Oh yeah, with these last couple weeks, I've heard that the weather's been pretty rough up there. I know a couple weeks ago it was like, I don't know, below freezing. So it's been nice to have the warm weather over here.
And obviously, fight got rebooked, but how disappointing was that for you? Because you're someone that doesn't pull out of many fights, and you get to weigh-ins, you weigh in, and the day of the fight, you unfortunately have to pull out.
That is actually the first fight I've ever had to pull out of. I've never turned down a name. I've never backed out of a fight. I've never had any opponents back out on me either, so I've been really lucky in that aspect as well. But so to be able to have to do that, like it was more heartbreaking than anything else. Like I just sobbed in my hotel room that whole day. It was more my coach's decision than mine. Obviously I woke up not feeling well, and I was still trying to go out there. We were warming up and trying to just see if I could feel good, see how I felt. And my coach made the overall decision. So I let him take charge there.
Was it just like the common cold, or was it because of the weight cut, or do you not really know why you got sick?
I'm assuming it was either like a stomach bug or food poisoning or something like that. My weight cut wasn't hard at all. I probably had like 2 or 3 pounds total that I cut. So it was definitely unexpected. I felt great going to bed that night, and then woke up the next at like 4 a.m. just feeling terrible.
If Dean didn't pull the plug, do you think he would have went out there then?
I feel like it just being a fighter naturally, it's hard to say no. It's hard to tell yourself you can't. So I feel like anybody who's a true fighter would really want to and really make that step. But obviously the coach is the one who's looking after your career, making the smarter choices. So I think I would have ended up out there if it wasn't for him.
And you obviously just get the fight rebooked 2 weeks later. Like, was that basically just get this fight rebooked as soon as possible? Was that kind of what you said to the UFC?
Oh yeah, I wanted Miranda Maverick. I wanted that matchup. I didn't want anybody to think that I was like ducking her, trying to avoid that fight. I wanted to make sure that people know that I want that fight. It wasn't like I was trying to get out of anything. She's the name that I want, and we're gonna make a statement.
Is a bit of a silver lining. You're on a bigger card. Obviously, 258 was 260 is a much bigger one. Like you have 2 title fights. Like it's gonna have more eyes on it.
Oh yeah, it's an absolutely awesome card we're on this time, and plus Tyron Woodley, who my coach Dean Thomas works with close, he's going to be on that card, and a girl that I work with close, Hannah Goldie, is on the same card, so it's going to be cool to have a lot of friends on it.
Yeah, what's that like? Because obviously you have Dean and now having 2 fighters to work on. You have a fellow training partner going for that same day.
I'm sorry, I lost you a little bit there.
Oh, what's it like having like a training partner then fighting on the same day? Because you guys are obviously going for that same day.
I just got the end of that question. I'm sorry.
Oh, what's it like having a training partner fight on the same card as you? Because you guys are obviously peaking for that same date.
Honestly, it's a unique experience. And last time me and Hannah were on the same card together, we actually were fighting each other. So that's kind of a unique experience on its own. That last time we shot punching other people in the face. So that's cool.
What changes? Because obviously the fight got delayed about a month, just over a month. So what kind of changes in training camp, or is it basically just kind of just trying to stay in shape? Because obviously all the hard work and the game planning was already done before this fight.
Yeah, it's just back to work like normal. Even we didn't know what matchup we were getting. We didn't know who they were going to throw in front of us. So no matter what, we were just trying to stay ready for whatever name they put out for us next.
Is the game plan the same as always? Just try to take her down and choke her out?
Oh yeah, always. We know where my strong are. We know gonna do everything to get
Oh, what do you think a win over Miranda does for you?
I'm sorry, the connection was bad for a second there.
Yeah, I kind of watched at the end of it. So is the game plan just to take her down and choke her out?
Oh yeah, it's like that's what we know that I'm good at, and we know that's my strong point. So that's where we're always headed in fights.
What do you think a win over Miranda does for you? She has a lot of hype behind her. Like it is kind of a fight I think that could get you a top 10 opponent.
Hopefully that's the goal. I'm just looking to keep on moving forward, keep on moving up. So whoever they put in front of me next, I'm ready for that matchup.
What's kind of your goal for this year? Is it just because you're someone that likes to be active? You don't really turn anyone down. It's basically just whoever the UFC offers you. So I assume it's just get in as many fights as possible.
It's to get 3 wins in a row finally in my UFC career. So far, I've had 9 fights in the UFC, and we've done 2 wins, a loss, 2 wins, a loss, 2 wins, a loss. So we're going for 3 in a row this time. That's the main goal right now.
Obviously, the smaller octagon at the Apex, do you think that kind of favors you slightly, just because you're going to be the one wanting to close the distance?
I definitely feel like the smaller octagon favors the grappler. It's easier to get them up against the cage, to get them on the ground. So yeah, it's always nicer for them not to have as much room to dance.
She's obviously a bit known for her grappling as well, but do you think she kind of won't want to go down to the ground with you and she'll want to keep it standing against you?
I think that if she was smart, that'd be the ideal game plan. I think that it's definitely going to be my world on the floor. So ideally, she'd want to keep it on the feet. But I also feel like Miranda's confident in her grappling. I wouldn't be surprised if she's the one who tries to take it to the floor.
And obviously, you want to be active, but you've been doing a lot of these grappling things. Is that something you're still interested in doing if you can't get another quick turnaround?
Okay, honestly, I just saw Alimale McFarlane and Jessica I got matched up on Submission Underground. I wanted the winner of that one. I was like, it would be awesome to be able to go against Alima. Obviously, Jessica's in my division, so that's always a possibility in the future. But Alima being the champ of Bellator, that'd be a dope situation just in general.
Do you really have your eye on who you want to fight next, or is it basically just whoever the UFC offers and just try to get that 3 wins in a row?
Yeah, it's whoever they offer. I really, it's whatever they have in store for me. It doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to prove that I'm the best, so I got to fight everybody to do that.
Have you been going out on any more road trips, you and Dean, or has it just been training out in Florida?
We went to St. Louis last week because he's back and forth between me and Tyron right now. So we went up there. I was training with Kelly D'Angelo and Brittany Cloudy. They're both with Invicta. And then this week I'm back again with Hannah Goldie. And yeah, we're gonna be, after this fight, our main goal is to travel. We want to go to Lloyd Avery School. We want to go to Trevor Whitman School. Just get information wherever we can get it, because we know that everybody knows something that we don't know, you know.
And just last thing, like obviously this is a big card, so a win here, like I think you're in the rankings again, but what do you, like? Are you hoping a ranked girl comes next, or is it basically just whoever or is it you don't really care for the next opponent?
I mean, the goal ideally is to move up. So if a ranked opponent is in front of me, then that'll help me move up a little bit faster. So a ranked opponent would be nice, but if it's not a ranked opponent, it doesn't bother me either. Obviously, there is still some contenders in this division who aren't ranked.
All right, well, Gillian, thank you so much for the time again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC light heavyweight Modestas Bukauskas, who's back in action coming up soon. Modestas, how's it going?
Yes, doing very well, thank you, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, the last fight didn't go your way, but Jimmy Crute, I think he's gonna be a top 5 guy in no time. Like, I think he's very underrated. Like, what do you take away from that loss? Because that was a big step up in competition, only your second UFC fight.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, but it's the same with Adesanya. Sort of saying that he took a risk and it didn't pay off, but he's the one that's in there. Taking the hard fights and trying to dare to be great, if you will. And that's exactly what I tried to do. I tried to dare to be great. And unfortunately, in that fight, it didn't turn out the way I wanted. But, like you just said, I learned a hell of a load of things from it. And, I've got to give massive credit to Jimmy Crute. He had an amazing strategy and game plan and fair play to him. He did amazing. And we had a beer after the fight and everything, and got to talk. And he's a cool fella. So the main things that I sort of learned from that fight is not necessarily like technical. Like, see, this is the thing. I know I had the skill set to win that fight, which is why I ended up taking the fight. I wouldn't have took it if I thought, I needed a bit more time to get prepared for him. Like, I still believe, like, I have the skill set and I have all the tools available to go in and beat guys like that and beat all the guys in the top 15. I still believe that. It was just more stuff, I guess you could say, that a bit more underlying. That weren't like so there in your face sort of things. Like, I got myself a sports psychologist who's been doing an absolutely amazing job. Chris Lazansky, if anyone wants to read up on him. But yeah, like as much as you think, you're a tough MMA fighter, you should be just as strong mentally and do things. And I actually read, like, Jimmy Crute actually looked into that after his fight when he lost to Serkinov. So I sort of looked into that and realized that it's just to bring the best out of you. You want to give yourself sort of the best chances to succeed. You want to give yourself like the 100% as opposed to the 80%. And so that was one thing that definitely I can see it in my training. I can see it, like my intensity is ramping up, like things are just going better. So I'd say that was one of like sort of the main things that I took from it. And then also just having more of a strategy and a game plan. Like, like all the fighters, they all have tendencies and they all have things that they do. Like, I would just sort of go into fights, obviously preparing for certain things, but not have like a clear enough strategy and things to like properly work on. Like Jimmy Crute he told me he was literally working on a couple of moves a million times over and over and over again. And funny enough, those were the moves that worked in the fight. Now, the things that I'd worked on clearly did work as well. Like, I stopped his takedown. That was a lot of the things that I was working on. So yeah, but then I sort of neglected like certain other areas. So along with the sports psychology and along with obviously learning that I need to have a more solidified strategy and like game plan and stuff like that, which clearly is what gave my opponent the edge in my fight, is also just to be aggressive and be more of an attacking fighter. I've been a very defensive fighter for so many years because I was just fighting guys, trying to stop takedowns, trying to stop their big time moves, as opposed to like show out your own moves. Modestas, like, what's going on with you? Like, why are you just defending against these guys? Do you know what I mean? And I sort of brought back my roots. Like listen, obviously I started out more of a striker, but at the same time I've got so many attributes that I can use, but I just need to bring out the best of myself and need to be more aggressive. So there's a lot of things I learned from that fight, and I'm so glad I had that early on in my UFC career, because you see some guys who go on like a massive win streak, they get hyped up, and then next thing you know, they lose a couple in a row because they maybe got pushed a bit too quickly. So I'm actually glad that that happened to me, because now I learned the things and tweaked the things that I need to do to go in and actually go and compete against the top guys in the world now.
And was the end of March, was that kind of the time frame you were looking for, or was this a bit sooner than you thought?
I wanted to fight earlier.
Oh,
mate, I just wanted to get back in there. Like there was things that I'd already seen that were coming to play and were working really well. But again, now in hindsight, I'm thinking, do you know what? 27th of March was perfect, because now everything is just molding together perfectly. I actually had a knee surgery. What was it? Mid-December. So that's the reason why things got, I guess you could say, halted a little bit in my head, because I had to take time to. But my recovery was absolutely amazing. It was very fast. Like, I've got to give a shout out to Distinct Physiotherapy, my gal Leanne, helping me out as always. Anyone who's in the Watford area or St Albans area in London, check her out. Obviously, if it's from America, they probably won't be able to. But she got me she got me recovered very, very quickly. She gave me all the right tools. I mean, there's sometimes that she needs to tell me to sort of rein myself in, because I was just a bit too over eager. But like the recovery went absolutely amazing. And as soon as I got to like pretty much beginning of January, I texted my manager Jason, and I said, listen, let's fight. I'm ready for any time in March. And then I think about a week or two later, he gave me Oleg Jacek. So yeah, man, everything worked out amazing. I'm so happy to be fighting. And like I say, when I'm fighting now, like feeling like I'm at my peak and everything's going in the stride, like I couldn't have asked for it to be placed at a better time.
Are you surprised this is your opponent? Because you guys are both two of these up and comers that I thought, I was surprised Crute was as well. I thought they try to keep you guys away from each other.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's certain things in the fight game that, like behind the scenes that people don't see. And when they're offering contracts to fighters, they're offering them like to fight this guy, and then they've got to assess their own risk and this and that. And it's like, well, if no one's going to fight this guy, like who else is going to be actually willing and able to fight him? And they want entertaining and interesting fights with good ratings and stuff like that. So they just eventually sort of match these guys up together. So obviously with the Jimmy Crute fight, they thought it would be quite explosive, 2 young up and comers. You know, obviously it's a little bit early, but then it gives time for the other fighter to sort of shape and mold themselves afterwards. So either way, I think it worked out really well for them. You know, Jimmy Crute obviously going on to do big things, fighting Anthony Smith next and stuff like that. But there's going to be my rise as well. So, you know, it's given me now time to sort of build my story and stuff like that, and get myself back up into the rankings. So, yeah, man, like I think it worked out really well. And in terms of Oleg Shaychuk as well, again, another 2 up and comers. This is now my time to shine. This is now my time to do my thing.
And he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and his last fight was actually to Jimmy Crute as well, which is kind of interesting. So, what did you kind of what have you kind of taken away from his run in the UFC?
He's a very. Do you know what he does? Again, it seems like like all the opponents are. Like obviously, what he's done well, he does really well. So he's a very good striker. You know, got a very powerful backhand, but he just seems to have been out grappled by guys. And that's where his sort of has been his downfall in those particular fights. The earlier fights, he was just sort of pushing the pressure, very aggressive, just comes forward the whole time, lands big shots, and then that's where he becomes successful. So, you know, sort of overhauling people with his pressure and his cardio and stuff like that, and his speed, and then. But, you know, I know he's had a year off, so clearly he's going to be working on his grappling. So I'm not going to, you know, completely dismiss that part of his game. But of course, it gives me a chance to highlight other areas of my game where I also have strengths that people don't even know about yet. But, you know, what better time to show it than on UFC 260?
And in this fight, I was looking, you got a 4-inch reach advantage. How big do you think that's going to be? Because it's probably going to be a striking matchup.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, we'll go wherever the fight takes it. But of course, I have supreme confidence in my son. I mean, even more so after all the work that I've been doing. So, yeah, I think I've learned now to use my reach a hell of a lot better. I've learned to bring back the old me, the old Modestas that, you know, likes to be a bit flamboyant, likes to be aggressive, likes to do things, likes to. I want to show out in this fight. There's no more, you know, sort of curling up behind myself and not showing out. These are the bright lights. This is where you've got to go out and perform. So yeah, I'm ready to go out and do that. So yeah, a 4-inch reach advantage obviously just plays to my favor even more so with the new skills that I've added during this training camp.
Oh, obviously, first 2 UFC fights out in Fight Island. You're heading out, all signs point to Vegas. That's what Dana White said after pay-per-view. But are you looking forward to heading out to Vegas and going to the Apex instead of going out to Fight Island again?
Oh hell yeah! Listen, they had an amazing hospitality. I mean, 5-star. Everything was absolutely beautiful the way that it was done for Abu Dhabi, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. And they took care of you so well. Like the hospital, it was absolutely amazing. Like it was great, but that was one side of it. But you know, like the fighting capital of the world is in Vegas. Everyone, whenever they talk about fighting or they talk about the biggest fights, they talk about Vegas. And you know, it's been like there was a big buzz about Fight Island, but now it seems like the big buzz is the Apex. Everyone wants to go and fight there. Everyone's talking about it. So this is like the next big buzz, and to be on that sort of on that platform is obviously absolutely amazing. You know, when you're thinking back as a kid, you look at all these bigger fights, you know, fighting at the MGM Grand and stuff like that. This has sort of got the same sort of vibe, the same feeling. Like I know it's the Apex, but it's the UFC's own facility during COVID and all these crazy times. So it makes for an amazing story. But yeah, it's always been my dream to want to go and do big things in America, become an American superstar, if you will. And this is definitely the building block to do so. And yeah, I can't wait.
Smaller octagon too at the Apex though. Like it's 25 feet compared to the usual 30 feet. Like how do you think that's going to play a factor in the fight?
Do you know what? It used to play on, like, you know, I used to think, oh, well, maybe it's sort of a little bit of a but I've been looking at my whole career. Look at the Cage Warriors. I've only fought in their big cage once. Out of my whole Cage Warriors career, I only fought in their twice. And I mean, listen, I've still been able to perform, still been able to do my thing. At the end of the day, you're locked in the cage with another man. You got to go and do the biz. Doesn't matter how big or how small. Just means that the distance is a little bit less, and you just got to feel your timing and feel things. I'm very fortunate that obviously my gym in BST in Northampton. They've got a cage which is even just, I think, maybe even a little bit smaller than the one in Vegas. So everything's great. Like, I now know how to use my footwork. And for me, it's even better. It's like, okay, if I want to go to the takedown, now there's the cage which is a little bit closer. Or if I want to move out of the way, I can circle off a little bit better. So I don't know, man. It just makes it more exciting. It's more in the phone booth. There's going to be more action. So it just makes everything feel like it. It just gives me more excitement knowing that the walls are closed in a little bit, and you can sort of throw the fire a little bit more, if you will.
How do you see this fight playing out against you and Michael?
As always, I look to go in this fight for a finish. I'm not going here to get a decision. I mean, sometimes you got to play towards the game plans and stuff like that, and you got to try and grind people out and do certain things. But it is in my goal and in my view that I'm going to go and finish this guy. Doesn't matter how it's going to be done, but I do feel I'm going to go and get the knockout. I've got the skills, I've got the talent. I've just got to go out and prove it, man. I've got to go out and show out the best of myself. And I believe that that if I do that, that is all that's going to happen, is me getting my hand raised and doing it in spectacular fashion.
And what's it like to be on this card, like UFC 260, 2 title fights, like the heavyweight title fight? Like, I have a bunch of casual friends that I watch 259 with, and they're already texting me like, "Oh, we got to watch 260 together too." So there's gonna be a lot of eyeballs on it.
Oh yeah, mate. The fact that there's such a huge vibe, and I remember even when I just posted the first time on my Instagram, I had loads of DMs saying, "Oh my gosh, that's an amazing card," and stuff like that. Like, to be on such a monumental card now, like, I've only fought on fight nights. Now this is my first numbered UFC card, so obviously it's a monumental opportunity to go out and show the world who you are, because people are going to want to know what's happening on Ngannou and Miocic and all the other, and Volkanovski and Ortega and all these other fights. But then they're always going to be looking at the undercards of all these fights. So this is my chance to shine. This is my chance to say, hey, listen, this is who I am. This is what I do. As much as I know you lot are all looking forward to the main event and the main card, I'm also here on the card. So yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. I'm so grateful and so blessed that they've chosen me to go on this card. And I just can't wait to go and compete.
Oh, what do you think a win here does for you? Because obviously you already got a shot at a ranked fighter. Like, I wouldn't be surprised you get a win here. You're either getting a guy in the rankings or someone just outside the rankings.
For me, it doesn't matter. You got to go and pick them all off one by one. You got to go and beat whoever it is that's in front of you. Obviously, having a big win here, I would like to look into the top 15. But look, it doesn't matter. Whoever they give me, whoever they think is next in line, or whoever they think was a good matchup to sort of get me into the rankings after that, that's what I'll do. I've got to take this road, take it by stride, take it step by step, take it fight by fight. So whatever they'll give me next, I'll be very happy. I just want to go out there, get the experience and get the wins. Go out and show my best abilities out to the world. And then those big fights will come. It will just come naturally. You can't, obviously you can go searching for it. And obviously that's what you want. You want to move yourself up the rankings, but you just got to win fights. You win fights, things will happen. So that's all I'm prepared to do.
Is it still a bit weird? Every kind of pictures going to the UFC, those sold out crowds, and you still haven't been able to do that, and you're already 3 fights into your career.
Do you know what? I think, at the beginning you're sort of thinking, oh yeah, like that's sort of the vibe that you want to be getting. You want to be going out into the crowd. You want to feel the energy of the people and stuff like that. But fighting is fighting, man. We're going out there in the cage and doing the job. I'm doing it on such a big platform. The thing is, I think I get that same vibe because I know there's so many eyeballs watching from TV sets at home. I think this is such a crazy day and age where now technology has moved us so far forward that, even without a crowd, you still have that same feeling of vibe that loads of people are watching. I still get to go out and perform. I still get to go out and do my job. So, like I say, you can't be happier knowing that you're able to compete for the best, promotion in the world. And, there's so many people still able to watch from these households. So, but obviously, when the crowds come back in, I know that's going to be an even more sensational thing to go out and perform in front of them.
Just last thing, like, I remember last time we talked, you mentioned you had that vision board in it, all that stuff. So what's kind of the ideal 2021 for you?
Mate, we've still got the vision board up there, and there's a couple things that in 2021 that I want to achieve. And look, it all depends on, you know, how healthy I am and,
Yep.
and stuff like that, how well I recover in between each fight. But I want to be active this year. I want to climb my way up the ranks. I want to do the business. I want to go out and get some big wins against some big names. That's all I want to do this year. So in my eyes, I want to try to do things like Kevin Holland done. I want to try and get 5 fights this year. If there's any last minute call ups to certain things, that's what I want to do. The main thing is just to take it day by day, fight by fight, and learn, get the experiences, and go and do the job at the end of the day. Improve my game, improve myself, improve my mind, do all these things, and go out and show the world that who the hell I am. That's what I want to do this year. 5 fights, 5 big wins, get myself in the top 15, and next year go and fight, go and spur my way onto the title. And you know, with a great experience, you know, having fought against a great fighter like Jimmy Crew, I can see, you know, if things go both our way in all our fights, you know, somewhere down the line that fight will happen again. You know, there's been a lot of hype around having rematches and stuff like that. So, you know, if our stars align once again, you know, maybe somewhere down the line when it comes to sort of top 5, we may meet again. So, like I say, it's just a very exciting future just to think about everything. And yeah, like I can't wait to take it all on.
All right, well, Modestas, man, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Nice one, brother. Thank you so much for having me on again. Yeah, nice one. You have a lovely evening.